welcome back everybody to another tier list. Today we're doing TFT Set 12. It is currently out on the PBE, but by the time you're seeing this, it is out on the full servers. I've been playing the heck out of it. I actually really like this set so far. It's definitely better than Set 11 to me. But please let me know down in the comments what you guys think about your favorite and least favorite TFT Set 12 champs here, and we're going to get started. Don't forget, like, subscribe. And let's see who we want to do first. Seraphine, I think she's okay. I think she's pretty good early game. Definitely needs a lot of traits and items to like really be super strong. Not a great carry unless you have those things, but not too bad. She's pretty mid there in B. Zillion. Zillion's definitely at least an A. I think the biggest reason why is because while his ability ultimate is pretty good, having 3 traits as a 2 cost, which we have seen more and more lately in the past sets, that a lot of people are having more than just 2 traits, so that has been nice. A lot of splashable traits, a lot of splashable champs, and I do think Zillion is definitely one of those with having 3 traits as a 2 cost. And I think he's pretty good overall. I think he's a little bit slept on. Swain, honestly, to me, is not as good as he has been in previous sets. I don't know. For me, he just has not been very good. I think you have to be pretty heavy in like the shapeshifter trait or frost, or have a shit ton of items for him to work, and all of that for a 3 cost. You just shouldn't need all of that for a 3 cost to make them be as strong as he needs to be normal, if that all makes sense. I think he's lacking for sure, but you know, maybe a buff or 2 and then he will be there. Now my boy Vigor is back. I'm gonna give him A. I don't think he's S as much as I love him. The biggest reason why he's an A is because if you're buying the charms, which is what you get this set, he's just going to keep gaining ability power every time you buy a charm. So if you can get him early and get Honeymancy early, he's just going to stack. Honeymancy is not too bad of a trait. It's definitely a low cost reroll build. But I think if you can get him early and get some frontline in front of him, he can definitely be super strong. His ability is pretty good. And you can definitely get some mages, especially if you get Galio up front. I don't know how a tank can be a mage, but we don't question that. So yeah, Vigor, my boy, is going to sit in A. Can't throw him into S as much as I would want to, but it is what it is. Jax, honestly, to me, man, Jax is super underrated right now, and that's usually what happens with Jax is nobody plays him at first, and then everybody realizes that if you throw a Hodge or Bloodthirster or Rageblade on him, he's just going to murder everybody. But for a 1 cost, he is pretty strong right now. His traits are not the most useful or most splashable, but they're definitely solid if you run them. He's definitely a solid champ himself, so if you get some good traits behind him, then it's pretty good there. Bard, I'll also give an A. I think overall, with having 3 traits as a 3 cost, and he's pretty decent in what he does, that he's worth an A. He definitely doesn't deserve the umph into S like previous Bards have been in other sets, but he's still pretty solid, pretty good. You could maybe throw him into B, honestly, but he's definitely not an S. I think he deserves an A, mostly because of having 3 traits, but he's still a pretty solid champ, very usable. Where is he? I saw him earlier. Ashe. I'm throwing Ashe into C. I think you need way too much for her to work. Super slow, her ability is not that good. You definitely just need a fuck ton of items and traits to have her work for a 1 cost, and it's not even worth it. You definitely need a whole lot for her to be able to work and carry. If that's what you're trying to do with her as a 1 cost, then yeah, I just don't think that she's very worth it. Why? I honestly, again, another champ I think is being slept on right now. I think his biggest downfall, again, is his traits, kind of like with Jax, but he does a pretty solid amount of damage, especially with some items. For Frost, having some frontline and backline champs, I think he fits well into that scheme. And his ability is pretty strong. You know, you just doing an ice missile on one person, but then every 3 casts you're doing it on 3, and that's pretty can be pretty devastating with the right items. And if you can 3-star him, and you more than likely can, because nobody really runs them, not that deep. Since we're on Frost, Twitch here. I gotta throw Twitch into C2. I think it's just the same Twitch that we've seen. He's not really any better, and I don't use him and don't see him a lot just because of the whole Frost. I think it's Hunter. Can't really read that, but yeah, he just he doesn't have that right now. He might later if they buff him or something, but right now he just you know, you'll throw him in for the trait itself, but he's not really going to carry your team unless you're running some crazy items or something on him. Briar, I'll give Briar an A as well. The biggest reason why I am not giving her an S is because of the only way to make her better is the feeding thing, which obviously takes away your health as a player. So while she's a 5 cost that has 3 traits, which one of them is just her own, so technically 2, she's very good, very strong, but for me, being able to lose player health, by the time you get there, you're more than likely are not necessarily low, but questioning how often or at all if you should even feed her to make her better. And honestly, for me, I think it's 150 health right now at least. When you're feeding her, to me, that's not really worth 3 player health. Maybe if it was a little more, you know, 200, 300, then, you know, you could definitely do it a little bit more, but for me, it's not that great. Let's see. Ari, I'll give Ari a B. I think the biggest thing with her is that her ult is just inconsistent. You're either going to hit one person or multiple. When you hit multiple, she's like a fucking S tier champ because she does true damage on the way back with her ult. But usually you're just hitting one person, and while it's still a very strong ult, I don't think with her traits and with her inconsistency on the ult that she deserves very high. Maybe you can throw her into A, but definitely not S, but I think she's definitely worthy of a B spot. Katarina, my girl, is going to be our first S tier champ here. I think her ability is strong as hell. I think fairies are super strong right now. I think they're super underrated. I think she's super underrated. Having the fairies ulting on multiple people, doing a shit ton of damage. You throw some, you know, it's like the set 4 Katarina, essentially, just doing a fuck ton of damage and hitting multiple people and healing as well, especially with some items. I think she's strong as shit. You should definitely use her, and you're going to thank me when you do. Camille, I'll give Camille an A. I think she's pretty strong. Her traits are a little difficult to throw her in, much like Jax running Kronos and multi-striker. It's not always the most useful, but she is a strong champ. She's good, but I think the traits keep her down for sure. Morgana, yeah, I think that's the same for Morgana. Morgana is really strong, but again, her traits are just, a lot of these people's traits are, it's either they're not that great or their traits are not that great, which, you know, is usually how it works out. But for a 5 cost, she's a little iffy. I might be able to throw her into S tier because she is pretty fucking good, but for now we're going to keep her in A. We'll come back to her. Poppy we'll throw into B. I think the biggest thing that you can do with her is if you get the what the hell is it? The augment where she smashes people 3 times instead with her ultimate. Then I would say she's at least an A, if not an S tier, 1 cost. But Bastion is definitely splashable. Witchcraft a little bit, at least maybe early when you would be splashing her in, but I think she deserves a B. She's not an amazing one cost. She is a good one, but I think a lot of that comes with that augment if you end up finding it. Oh, let's see. Warwick, honestly, I think this is one of the worst Warwicks that we have had. I think he's... Honestly, every Warwick that I've ever seen is strong as fuck, and I think this is the worst one so far. But Vanguard is a little bit splashable. Frost is okay. I think he's decent. There's really nothing bad to say about him. I just think that as a one cost, he's B tier unit, which I would say should be overall the case for the most part. Olaf, Frost Hunter. I think I'm gonna have to keep nodding everybody into A. Nobody really jumps out at me as being S too much that I'm seeing when I'm picking them up. Olaf is good. It's the same Olaf that we've always seen for the most part, slashing the shit out of everybody. And I think he actually jumps to the next person, which is nice. And he can definitely carry you. We might throw him into S because I still think he's pretty strong, especially with the right items. But again, the traits are kind of holding him back for me. Wukong, we'll just give him a B. I mean, he's a by himself champ, so at least minimum he's the best splashable champ in the set for sure. No doubt about that, but he's not really too amazing. Elise, I'll give to B as well. I think, again, her traits are actually pretty good, and she's decent, but overall she's just she falls off pretty hard as a one cost. You definitely have to have a lot of help around her for her to be um, super good to me. Jace, to me, honestly, is probably the best one cost in the game, at least right now. I think he's super underrated, does a fuck ton of damage, and having a shapeshifter that starts in the back and then goes to the front and slams down and then is a tank essentially is nice. There's a lot you can do with him. I think he's super high in utility and usefulness for sure. Diana, okay, I think we'll give Diana an S. I think as a 5 cost, having the Bastion trait to be able to splash that in is super good. I think Frost kind of keeps her down a little bit because there's a lot of Frost champs for sure, but it's not the most useful trait. But Diana's very strong. Her ult is good, or ability, whatever you'd like to call it, and then the Bastion trait to splash in is pretty strong. Namie, I'll give Namie an S as well. While you're only really going to use her with Eldritch, her ult slash ability is super strong, especially if she can keep casting and then hit and stun multiple targets. It's great. I think she definitely deserves an S tier. Minimum A for both of these girls right there. Namzi is not really anything too special, honestly. You're just honestly going to use him if you're trying to run dragons, but unless you get like him and Shyvana early, then you're probably not really even going to worry about him. Maybe splash him in for Hunter, but again, it's nothing crazy. Karma, I think this might be the worst Karma we have seen, honestly. I think she's pretty weak, or he, I'm actually not even sure. But yeah, overall she's I think she needs a buff. Yeah, I don't really have anything good to say about her. She's not awful, but yeah, I definitely just think that as a 4 cost, she's pretty weak. Mordekaiser, I am gonna give to S. I think he is super strong, man. He's a true shield tank. Got Vanguard, a little bit of splashable, and then a strong Eldritch carry for sure, or at least one of them tank wise. I think he deserves it. His ability is super strong, keeping him alive, shielded up there. I think he's pretty good. Akali. Honestly, I think they need to buff Akali a little bit. I think she's a little weak. While she is a 2 cost with 3 traits, which is awesome. And I find myself picking her up a lot and tossing her in. But I don't know, man. She just doesn't smash like I feel like she usually does. But she is a 2 cost now, so maybe that's a little bit why. But I think maybe with some right items and some better teams that she'll definitely excel more than at least what I've been seeing. Gnosis, I'd have to give Gnosis an S tier as well. I think he's one of the best tanks in the game. He starts just any game with so much health, and then you give him some shapeshifters, you give him some items, like that dude is going to shred. Ziggs I'm going to give to B. I think he's a little bit inconsistent with his ability, and pretty much unless you're running Honeymancy, you're not really going to run him. Maybe with Incanter early, but you're definitely going to swap him out for a different Incanter. But he's not too bad as a 1 cost, but not too great. Tarek we'll give to A. Again, 4 cost Bastion, nice person to just be able to splash in. Portal is okay. I mean, it can be good if you're running enough of it, for sure, just like any other trait. But he's a good tank. I mean, he does what he should do as a 4 cost, but I don't think he has that umph into S. Like, I would take Gnosis over Tarek in general, aside from, if we're throwing in the traits, then yeah, I'm taking Gnosis. Callista, as usual, is one of those champs that is super fucking strong and OP. You get a Rage Blade and Runons or something on her, and she's just going to absolutely shred the enemy team or your team, especially with multi-striker, and definitely with Fairy as well there. Definitely a very strong Fairy carry. And as you see with more Fairy carries, I'm going to give Rakan an A. While he is good as a 4 cost, I do think he, as a 4 cost, needs a little bit more help item-wise to get that umph into S or be super, super solid. Again, good, solid Fairy champ, definitely a very good tank for the Fairy team trait, but I think Preserver kind of keeps him down a little bit as well, because it's, there's only 4 of them, and he's one of them. So it's basically you're either running Rakan with Fairy or not at all. But he does good. I just think he needs a little bit more item help than some. Let's see, Lilia. I'll give Lilia an A. I think she's a very solid 1 cost champ. I think she's very easy to start in the beginning of the game with fairies or with bastions, and to honestly just keep throughout the whole game to have either one of those traits. Her ult is pretty good as well. Nothing really bad to say about her. I just don't think she has that umph into S for sure, but I don't think she's bad enough to be mid or in B, at least for me. Nico, I'm going to give Nico an A. I think with her traits a little bit wishy-washy there, but her ability is pretty strong. She's very good, especially with some items, but I think her traits kind of hold her back. You definitely have to be running specific stuff to kind of get her working well. But I do think she's very solid. She definitely deserves an A spot for me. Kog'Maw, I'm going to give to B. I think while I like the Honeymancy legends here, I think it's just a reroll comp that is a little bit difficult to make work, especially because none of them mesh too well together. Kog'Maw's not bad by any means, but I think with the traits, it definitely kind of holds Kog'Maw back, for me anyway. Blitzcrank, kind of the same thing. A little bit splashable with Vanguard early on for sure. He's not bad, but I definitely think that he is way more solid with with the Blitzcrank augment when he zaps people. Basically has Ionic Spark built in. I think that is good. I don't think he's bad, but for a 1 cost, again, being in mid, I think that's where he should be at. Since we're on Honeymancy's, Nunu I will give into A as well. I think he is one of the better Honeymancies of the 5 for sure. I think probably Vigor, Nunu, and then Kog'Maw, Blitz, Ziggs. But I think Nunu is very strong. Definitely can put him in more with the Bastion trait, and then his ability is pretty good as well. Vex, I'll give to A. I think the biggest thing that keeps Vex out is just the traits, but her ability is very good. Very strong tank for sure is a 3 cost, always is, always will be more than likely. But the traits definitely hold it back. Kassadin will give to B. I think decent 2 cost tank, but traits are a little iffy, and he's not super strong, honestly. He's just kind of a meat shield for the rest of his team, whether it's Portal or Multi-Striker, to do more of the work. Syndra I'll give to A. Very solid Eldritch champ, solid ability. Cantor's a little, not the most splashable, but she's very good for a 2 cost. Definitely pretty easy to 3-star, definitely good ultimate ability, so we're there with that. Zoe, honestly, for a 1 cost and having 3 traits, she's just not super great. She's not bad. You can maybe throw her into A tier, but the biggest reason why I would put her in A tier is honestly just because she has 3 traits as a 1 cost. But other than that, she's not the most useful to me. I think there's just a lot of better champs even at 1 cost than she is. Tom Kinch. Man, it's hard out here because I feel like Tom Kinch just is not that great, only because he doesn't really have great traits. You have to wait so long to get him, and at best you're just going to splash him in with Vanguard. His ability is very good, and he's a solid tank. I will give him to A, but it's like the lowest A minus you can get. Mostly, again, just because of the traits. Shin, pretty much the same Shin we always see. Solid tank up front, a little bit of splashability with Bastion there, but it's nothing crazy. Cassiopeia is very good in my opinion, but I think she's super hard to work with her traits. If you're running those and you're having her carry or help, then it's great, but other than that, I might even drop her to B just because her traits are so hard to work with. Varus honestly is super underrated. He does a fuck ton of damage with his ultimate, but I think again the traits just kind of keep him behind. I honestly have seen very little to no Pyro players, including myself, even though I've tried to run them, but if you're not getting them, you're not getting them. But he can definitely carry. He does a fuck ton of damage with his ultimate. Hecarim, excuse me, while I love my boy Hecarim, even with 3 traits as a 3 cost, this is one of the worst, whatever, ones that we've seen of him. We could definitely splash him in with Bastion for sure, Multi-Striker kind of, Arcana kind of, on the lower end for sure, but his ultimate ability just really isn't that great. He's not the tank that he used to be. He's just a damage dealer now, but a tank at the same time. So it's just kind of, I don't know, it doesn't work, is all I can really say. Who else do we got here? Rise. I haven't seen too many Rise players, but I will give him to A because I know that he is very strong, especially with some portals and scholars going. Shyvana I'll give to A as well. I think while her traits are a little not so great, when you do run her, she's very, very strong for a 2 cost in my opinion. Nyla I'm also going to give to A. I think her traits are very good, very splashable, and she's super strong herself for a 2 cost as well. Galio, biggest reason why he's an A is 3 traits, but he is pretty strong. Definitely some tankiness with Vanguard, definitely some splashables with Portal and Mage there. He's definitely a solid champ, decent ability as well. Rumble, honestly to me Rumble is a B. I know he's a 2-cost with 3 traits. You can definitely throw him in a lot of spots, but I don't know, man. He just, I don't know. He doesn't have that it factor for me. I think that's why they gave him 3 traits, is because he's not that great, his ult and everything, but it's not bad. Ezreal, good, but again, I think the traits kind of keep him behind, but his ability is definitely not bad. Smolder, honestly, I'm going to only give him Smolder and A. I think, honestly, depending on who and what you're running, you can go up or down here with Smolder. But I do think a lot of people are obviously trying to run him and see kind of what it's like. Tristana, I don't know. Tristana definitely I feel like is a B for sure, but maybe an A. I just feel like with fairies, there's so many other carries that she just kind of falls on the back burner. Soraka, nothing. I never even see her. Gwen is good, but her traits keep her behind. Fiora is honestly super underrated, but you don't see her because of the traits. Jinx is honestly underrated to me, but her traits are just so bad. Like, she does a fuck ton of damage, but not really that great. Xerath, super strong champ, super bad traits there. Nora, I'll give to A as well, and Milo. But I think that'll do it, so let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I know it's kind of a long tier list. I tried to go relatively quickly for you guys, but please don't forget, like, subscribe, let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and we will see you guys in more TFT Set 12 videos coming soon.